Okay. I need to get these controls in order. Okay. All right. Hello and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Janetta, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube later or live and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter. That's at uofva.org for all the details. Our message and meditation today comes from Carl Fitzpatrick. After a spontaneous awakening in 1988, Carl Fitzpatrick has been on a quest to fully honor the inner guidance that poured forth as an answer to a prayer. Today, she uses her spiritual gifts as an empathic, intuitive seer and guide to help others activate soul level awareness and liberate the spirit within. Her mission is to model what is possible when oneness becomes a way of life. She is the author of two books and founder of two World Service organizations, Sustainable Oneness, Spiritual Alliance, that is, and Global Centers for Planetary Awakening. It is our joy to welcome her as our guest speaker today. And now, here is Carl Fitzpatrick.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, and welcome, friends. Thank you so much again for having me today. I really appreciate the privilege of speaking and sharing really the inner quest that, like I said, I've has been mentioned. I've been on a quest for quite some time now. And I really want to talk about what our spiritual superpower is all about. And I'm one that I study the patterns of not only the soul having the human experience as I work with people, but I also receive sort of inner guidance about what the global patterns are all about. And whether something feels smooth and silky or chaotic or disruptive. And I know that you can feel that in your own life. And of course, we all can recognize what is happening in our environment. Our mental mind says, well, it's because of this, it's because of that. We all have a sense of, in context of our own lives, what that might be and what that might look like, and how that outpictures and how we position ourselves in life. What I have found over time is that our world is actually backwards. It's upside down and backwards. Where, as a soul, we are amorphous. We communicate telekinetically. Everything is based upon a sense of harmony, unity. I use the word oneness a lot because we begin to recognize that we're not separate from the universe. We're not separate from the love that we hold and the love that we amplify toward others. We recognize that we are one with the cosmos, and we can go anywhere in our, not only our imagination, but we can go anywhere physically in the cosmos as a spirit, as a soul. And I've been up into what I call the upper world many, many times. I've been into other intergalactic star nations, areas of where stars are born, souls are born from the stars, and how we come into an embodiment. And yet, once we get here, suddenly it's me and you. It's that and yeses and nos and goods and bads. And so the separation of where we start to feel that we need to protect ourselves or defend ourselves. And we start to look in terms of our survivability. And this happens, of course, very, very early in life. And we still very much have the sensibilities of the world and the people around us as we do in the spirit world. But suddenly we're inside of a tiny little body, and everything is looked at from the container in which we're residing in. And again, over time, what happens is the mind becomes very prevalent. And of course, in spiritual practices, we really learn to sequester, to step back, to go inside so that we can maybe see or hear a different perspective. And what I have found over time is we have a tendency to relate to everything through the level of the personality. And the personality is how we face outward, how we receive people. And yet there's that deeper knowing, that deeper sense of oneness that does guide us. And so the question that I have asked this morning is, how can we honor the inner light that guides us while maintaining harmony? Because in the spirit world, we're creating a new harmonic through kindness, through compassion. And yes, in the spirit world, it's just a higher octave of what we experience in this world and beyond. And yet it's smooth. I tell people, when you feel truth, when you align with truth, and truth is really love, it feels smooth as butter. There's no disruption within you. There's no hiding. There's no projecting. There's a sense of love, honor, and acceptance about the experience that you're having. So I'm asking this morning for all of us, each of us, to consider how compassion and humility are our true superpowers as spiritual beings. Because we are spiritual beings expressing light through our shared humanity. And that's really the point from what I've learned from the spiritual beings that guide me, is we are here to open and to amplify more light through us. And by doing so, that literally changes and begins to build a new earth matrix of consciousness. So how can this transformational elixir of consciousness work to so seamlessly rebalance the scales of life from polarity, the stuff that we do with our minds, to harmony, which is getting us into the feeling nature of well-being? And of course, to extend that in our families and communities, where the acceptance of God's inner light, inner guidance leads us to build a new earth matrix of consciousness. So the goal in my version of life is that we're here to express feeling loved, honored, and appreciated to the fullest extent possible, because in the spirit world, it's easy. And of course, in this world, with all the positionings of life, it can get pretty tricky. And so the goal actually is to leave separation and polarity behind, as in use it, see it, understand when that's happening, but actually begin to shift our awareness into our heart space and begin to live our lives in a sense of flow, and we begin to feel harmony. When we feel disharmony, what do you do with that? Do you push? Do you withdraw? Do you put a bubble around you? Do you defend? And of course, each of us has the answer to that. We have our way of first surviving and then thriving. So the reason why humility, for instance, is a spiritual superpower is because it's the act of letting go. You're giving yourself permission to put your defenses down, to allow the mind to fall away. And I tell people every day when I'm working with them, just portend, if you will, that right before you go to sleep, you literally tell your mind to go offline. And you can actually do that consciously all through life when you are looking to decide something, to approach something, to be in relationship with someone. You can close your eyes for just a moment. You can drop into your heart space and you can soften the mind and you let it fall away. What happens when you do that and you get practiced at this, you start recognizing that you're really allowing the universe of connectedness to enter into your heart space. It's a really beautiful thing. In fact, just saying those words gets me a little emotional because there's so much love, and it's a very highly refined, beautiful feeling of well-being. It's that kind of, and it's a frequency. It heals, it transforms, it creates a sense of well-being, and it also comes with a huge amount of boatload of communication. So the reason why it's our superpower as spiritual beings is because the heart intelligence is so much greater, it's so much wiser. It's hardwired in a very different way than our mind is. We've been taught through both our instinctual way of learning and also how we've been programmed by our families, by our loved ones, by society, by our life experiences. We've been shaped into perceiving the world a certain way, as either friendly or hostile. And our mind is always on the lookout. And discernment is a really positive thing, by the way. You don't want to just roll over and accept what is coming into your life without discernment. That's what the mind is for. But because you let go and you allow, especially when you start to feel sort of an inner push or even an external feeling of push on you, if you drop into your heart space and you let go, you're not needing to prove anything. You're not needing to defend your position. You're not needing to be right for any particular reason. What's happening with the practice of humility is you're listening. You're listening to your high self. You're listening for the inner prompting of the heart. You're listening with a feeling, a sense of feeling and knowing. And suddenly what happens is you stop relating to people through the context of the personality. I have a really, after talking about opinions, I have a very strong opinion about this. When I see people really throwing shade at other people for various reasons, they're doing that on the level of the personality. I can tell they haven't dropped into their heart space. And even though they may not say something, I also tell people there is no such thing as a secret in this world. Energy is energy is energy. And if you have inner sight, as many of us are beginning to have, you start to recognize that even the colors that present as you're speaking, as you're interacting with someone, and you don't even have to see them, you can feel it, you can sense the colors shifting and changing and morphing, and that what you're watching and what you're feeling is the shift in frequency. So the heart, the flow of the heart coming from the aspect of soul level awareness is soft and fluid. And sometimes actually it's very directive. I myself have seen spiritual masters seemingly be very, very harsh with a student. And yet energetically, when I feel into the master projecting energy toward the student, if I were looking at that on the level of the personality self, I would say, wow, that person's being so mean. But when you look with your spiritual eyes, with your heart-centered eyes, you can see that that person is sending a dose of pure source light to transmute whatever fear, separation, or anxiety the person may be experiencing. And it's like they get a blast of love. And so the personality says, I'm being yelled at, but the heart, and from a frequency standpoint, I'm being loved up by the master, by the teacher. And so humility is the gateway to your own divinity personified. And that's why we have a personality self, is because we come to this earth because we wish to have a very unique experience. We wish to have loving, kind relationships. And I would say that most of us have that, and most of us have relationships that are not loving and kind. Most of us have that person in our world that we can count on that will love us no matter what. And most of us have at least a person or a significant relationship with someone that is a tremendous challenge. And that's the polarity. That's what we've come here to basically test drive within ourselves. Can I hold my center? Can I hold and bring this incredible, beautiful 0 point frequency of love without the polarity and without the distortion? Can I bring that into my body, mind, consciousness? And can I listen? And can I follow that inner prompting as opposed to being defensive with my mind? And what happens is when we do that, there's just an incredible wash of grace that comes over us. And I say that's when miracles begin to happen, because you start to experience the synchronicities of your life. It's like inner doorways open and opportunities come your way. And you find that the life that you thought you were going to be living, perhaps if you have been very, very focused and very controlled with the mind, comes out into a different way. It begins to manifest in a way that truly sets your heart free. And when you set your heart free, guess what? Everyone else is around you begins to recognize that, and they begin to say to themselves, well, maybe I can put my defenses down. Maybe I can be soft and gentle with myself also. And so the other piece that I have seen over the years is about compassion. And my teachers have always told me to look to the spiritual essence of compassion. that we humans, because we're very tribal beings, we're closer to the animal kingdom than we actually give ourselves credit for. But in a tribal situation, there are the collective we-ness, and there's always someone that bucks the system. There's always a black sheep of the family. There's always someone that's a rebel without a cause or with a cause. And what we do in our tribal nature is we extend perhaps human compassion to someone. And human compassion actually is an act of feeling sorry for someone. It's an act of pity. And the guides have always shown me that energetically, when you pity someone, you're placing yourself above another soul. And they're saying, this is not to be. The true act of compassion is to see and sense the person through your spiritual eyes, through your heart eyes, and to appreciate the fact that they are in this life having their human experience just as you are. And when you hold someone in such a deep state of appreciation, that's the highest form of compassion as a potential on this planet. And what happens when you can truly see one another, and you can see the other, and the other actually can see you, there's a magical component that begins to happen, and all of the illusion, the protection, the defenses, the aggression, the need to defend with the mind starts to melt away. And you're not looking at the other person. And by the way, we've got to hold ourselves in that high state of appreciation also, knowing that we are having this human experience. We are in a polarized world. And our task here as souls is to create a new harmonic here on Earth. Many of us have come here to build a new Earth grid of consciousness. We've come here to gather together, just as we are right here in this medium, on this platform, to open our hearts, to see one another for who we are, not what we are, but who we are, and to relate to one another that way, to hold each other in deep love and care and deep appreciation for a spirit, for love expressing through us. So the light within us expresses through our eyes. I know that for the almost a decade that I was guided to do host what the guides called Living the Miracle, it was short for Living the Miracle of Oneness. One of the key things that always was present as we opened our sacred circle each month was gazing into one another's eyes. And at first, I have to say, there was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of human hiding going on. In other words, don't look at me. You may see something that's terrible, that's awful inside of me. I may not feel worthy of gazing into your eyes. But over time, what would happen? The guide would say, hold your center, hold to the center of who you are. So no matter what is happening with the other, try to do this unflinchingly. Gaze into the other's eyes with deep love and appreciation. And of course, we always had the help with my husband, Mark, who played music and all got us in those spaces with one another. And I've noticed other light groups, churches, star groups in retreats all over the world. This practice, I think, has become fairly common. And yet I find that those of us that want to flinch, we want to look away, it just simply means that we're not really ready to acknowledge fully who we are. We're not willing at that given moment to accept that we are deeply appreciated by our Creator and that there's nothing wrong. There's nothing we need to fix. There's nothing that is defective about us. So when we become humble, take on a stance of being humble, and give way to the mental constructs of how we might want to defend and protect or project defiance or wrongdoing or feel the need to be right by making others wrong. And I see this actually a lot in our political dialogue of late. The last so many years have been terrible about this. It's almost like it's given people the permission to be mean to one another, which is astounding to me. It's sort of like, why hold back? I have a right to say what I think. I have a right to attack someone's character or personality. And I've come to realize that that's the collective shadow being released within us. And if we really are practicing our superpower of compassion, in reality, what we would do is see the person that's doing that on the level of the personality is actually hurting, is confused, is afraid, feels alone, feels isolated, has a fear of failure going on. And that's not real, actually. And that is the illusion of what it feels like to be separated from God, to be separated from source. And so our ability, our capacity to hold the high watch, as I say, and hold that person in that deep state of appreciation, recognized that they're lost and they're confused in that moment. And so it takes the bitterness away and also has us understanding life from a higher perspective. So when we allow the higher frequencies of love, of joy, of inner peace to enter into our body-mind consciousness, because that's in our human genome, we're all about the body-mind, the mind-body. It changes us. So the concept that we're out to change the world may be true. And as we all really do know, that you can't change anything or impact global harmony to create a new harmonic of consciousness on Earth. It's really an inside job, is it not? We have to really be that, do that. And so staying humble, being willing to listen, being willing to take direction, inner direction, to take that into the heart of who we are and what we are, is the goal. And this single interaction alone allows us to be who we are and what we are. It's light expressing who we are is light, and what we are is expressing that light through our myriad human interactions with the world. And so when compassion kicks in and you begin to feel the difference, it is a very viscerally different energetic stream that comes to you. Then, and you start to see through the eyes of spirit, the heart of who we are is with pure intention. So no matter how much someone is acting out or behaving a certain way, or perhaps going into the addiction zones of anything, it could be anything to numb or to keep the pain away. They really do have pure intention. Everyone starts out with pure intention. And so if we can see our fellow human beings with that sense of deep appreciation, then at some point, because we're all so deeply connected, there's a subtle energy that begins to shift, begins to happen. And suddenly wrong becomes confusion. Defensiveness is understood as a fear of feeling alone. So rather than isolating ourselves out of the need to defend or protect, we begin to relax and open. So it's important to remember that everything in our physically manifested world is backwards from the way we know as spirit manifesting. If we can remember that and remember to stop projecting what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with this, who did this, and even to the point of forgiveness, I have to say that forgiveness is an act of projection. Acceptance, my guides have always told me, is more the point. When we accept our inner light, we accept the decisions we made, we accept that we had wrongful thinking, or we were confused, and perhaps we allowed something or something into our lives that hurt us, but we did that. And they're saying you start perhaps with forgiveness because that's the mindful thing, but you bring it on into acceptance. So the question really from there becomes, will we allow the light to enter into our body, mind, consciousness? And more importantly, what becomes of us when we do? This is a really, really key question, because I've worked with, by now, I can't even tell you how many people, and it's the same for all of us. We have control over our domain, our environment, our relationships. And I may speak with someone who says, I'm so unhappy, I'm so sad, I'm so distraught, I'm so tired of not having enough financial resources. And so the question is, if you're willing to allow love, if you're willing to make this shift in consciousness, then you begin to allow more love in. But it can be a very scary thing, I have to say. Been there, done that, and still doing it. So when you allow more love, more light to fill you with hope, with possibility and acceptance, how are you going to handle that? What choices are you going to make from that higher vibrational perspective? With what you tolerated before, are you going to continue to allow yourself to feel suppressed or oppressed? How do you handle your new becoming, your new reality? And these are all questions that we need to ask ourselves. And yet, if we're courageous and we offer ourselves liberal doses of compassion, then what will happen there is the humility. We start to recognize that the decision made today in this moment is the first decision of the rest of your life. It creates an opening. And you are making that decision to never go back, to never go back to the fear and the doubt and the indecision and the defensiveness. And so, with great humility, you allow spirit to guide you. And I tell people, just take the most immediate next step. You don't have to solve the whole puzzle at once. In fact, that's part of what life is. It's very wonderful and beautiful. So I would like to invite you to decide right now to allow your mind to soften and your body to relax as you allow your heart to receive the signals, the pulses of light sent to you by your divine nature. And then begin to practice compassion as you remain humble of heart and allow spirit to guide you. So that's my message today, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that with you. So, and I understand that there's a meditation in the mix here, if I'm not mistaken. So, Janetta, would you like to sort of guide me to what I'm to do next?
There I go. All right. Um, of course, usually the Reverend Cheryl will do a meditation at this point, and Chris should be somewhere around, and she has the guidance in that. But I would like to say thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry for your with your financial donation. And we do appreciate that. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.
Sorry, and let me get this